Have you ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels? Trying to make these huge, life-changing moves, but they never seem to stick? Well, today, we're going to tear into James Clear's Atomic Habits and figure out why the absolute smallest changes can lead to the biggest wins.
It really all comes down to this one question. Can a tiny, almost invisible choice you make today actually reshape your entire future? Well, according to this book, the answer isn't just a simple yes. It's pretty much a mathematical guarantee.
All right, let's get right into the core number. Forget about making some massive overnight transformation. This whole philosophy is built on one simple idea: getting just 1% better every single day. That's it. So small, you can't fail.
But here's where it gets kind of wild. What happens when you stack that little 1% improvement day after day for a whole year? You don't just get a bit better. No way. You get 37 times better. And this isn't some kind of magic trick. It's just the awesome power of compounding, but for your life.
So how in the world do we get from that tiny percentage to that huge number? Well, to really get it, we need to hear the author's own story.
So, James Clear wasn't some productivity genius from birth. He was a really good baseball player whose life got completely derailed by a terrible accident. His comeback didn't start with some grand, complex plan. It started with the absolute smallest step he could possibly take. Just one push-up. That single push-up became the first tiny habit that he used to rebuild his entire life. And it just goes to show that this system can work, even when you're starting from absolute zero.
And this whole idea has a name: the compound effect. It's just like investing a little bit of money and just letting it grow. Your small habits pile up in the exact same way. Now, you don't see the results right away, and honestly, that's why most people give up. But if you can just stay consistent, the payoff down the road is absolutely huge.
This slide just nails the concept perfectly. Think about it. A tiny, tiny change in direction at the beginning of a long journey, and you end up in a completely different city. Your daily habits are that 3.5-degree shift. They feel like nothing today, but over months and over years, they decide exactly where you're going to land in life.
Okay, so the math makes sense, but how do we make these little changes actually stick around for good? Well, the book argues that the secret isn't about focusing on your goals, it's about focusing on your identity.
Now, this is a really interesting way to look at it. See, most of us set goals based on outcomes, what we want to get, but that's kind of backward. A much more powerful way to do it is to focus on who you want to become. You don't just aim to lose weight, you aim to be a healthy person. And once you believe that, you'll naturally start doing what a healthy person does.
Think of it like this, right? Every single time you pick the salad instead of the fries, you're casting a vote for being a healthy person. Every time you write just one sentence, you cast a vote for being a writer. Your habits become the proof, the evidence that slowly builds up your new identity.
Okay, so focusing on your identity is the why. Now let's get into the how. Clear gives us a super simple 4-step playbook for building the habits that are going to support that new you.
And here they are, the 4 laws of behavior change. To build a good habit, you just follow these 4 steps. And get this, if you want to break a bad habit, you just do the opposite. You flip them. Let's look at a couple of quick examples. The first law is all about setting up your environment to win. You want your good habits to be the easiest, most obvious choice. The cues that trigger them should be sitting right there in front of your face. So, for example, if you want to start running in the morning, don't hide your running shoes away in a closet. Put them right by the front door where you're literally going to trip over them. You're making the cue for your habit totally impossible to ignore. The second law is all about hacking your brain's motivation system. We are just way more likely to do something again if we actually enjoy it. So the trick is to link the habit you need to do with something you want to do. This is a perfect example. Maybe you don't love the idea of working out, but you do love listening to your favorite podcast or that new album. Well, if you only let yourself listen to it while you exercise, the whole thing becomes way more attractive and maybe even something you start to look forward to.
Now, from that third law, make it easy, we get what might be the single greatest hack for beating procrastination I have ever heard of. It's called the 2-minute rule.
We've all done this, right? We set these big, inspiring goals. But then, when it's actually time to do the thing, it just feels like so much work. And that feeling makes us do nothing at all. The 2-minute rule just flips that completely. You shrink your habit down until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. So your goal is no longer do yoga every day. Your new goal is just to unroll the yoga mat. I mean, anyone can do that. It's so ridiculously easy, you literally can't say no.
And that's the real genius of it.
The point isn't just to do 2 minutes of something. The point is to become the type of person who starts, to master the art of just showing up. Because once you've started, once that mat is unrolled, doing 5 or 10 minutes is so much easier. The rule is designed to get you over that first wall of resistance.
So let's put this all together. What is the one thing you really need to take away from all this to start making a real change in your own life?
Really, it all boils down to this. Start super small, just aiming for that 1% daily improvement. Focus on the person you want to become, not just the result you want. Then, use those 4 laws to make your new habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And anytime you feel stuck, just fall back on the 2-minute rule to get the ball rolling. And that really brings us to the final and most important question. This isn't about changing your entire life overnight. It's about taking that very first tiny step. So what is the 2-minute version of the habit that could start to change everything for you?